all you plumbers and do-it-yourselfers out there. Welcome back to Serving Up Plumbing with me, your master plumber, David Butler. Today, we're going to be talking drains, how to clear drains, specifically like kitchen sink drains, shower drains, and not so much of how to clean them, but what machine we're going to use. How to clean them's in another video. But we're going to talk about the machine that you would normally use to do a lot of those drains. But before we get to that, please give it a thumbs up if you like this video, hit that subscribe button, and let me know what you'd like to see in the future. Now, let's learn how to use a sink machine. Today, we're talking about using a sink machine. Now, a sink machine is a broad name for something. It's usually a machine like this. Now, they make small handheld machines that have 25 foot by quarter or 5/16 cables. We're not talking about that one today. We're talking about 3/8 by 75 foot cables in machines. We've got the mini router here from General. Rigid makes a machine like this. Spartan makes one. Gerlitz makes one. All of those companies make machines. They make great machines. This just happens to be the one I've got today. We're not sponsored by General. I've used General for years. I've used Rigid. I've used Gerlitz. We've got them all. But let's talk about this machine. And in general, we're talking about a cable that is 3/8 inch diameter by 75 feet long. Why do we call it a sink machine? Because usually we're going to be unstopping kitchen sinks, lavatories, washing machine drains, and showers sometimes with this. And this is also used for unstopping bathroom inside the house. Like maybe not the whole house is stopped up, but just one bathroom. Or maybe everything's stopped up inside the house and you can't access it from anywhere. So we can access this from several different places that we can't always access a big machine. So again, the most important thing we know is know our machine. Let's talk about the cable and the heads that we use on it. First of all, as I mentioned, 3/8 of an inch cable by 75 feet. Now, that gets most drains on residential homes. Sometimes it can be difficult when you get into a larger apartment complex or commercial buildings, but most of the time you can reach a clog in a sink drain, which is normally a 2-inch or 1.5-inch pipe with 75 feet of cable. The further you get the cable out, of course, though, the weaker your machine gets. Not in that it's not still strong with the motor, but more cable that you have out in the line, the less strength you have at the far end of it to do what it needs to do. 3/8 by 75 foot is the normal cable that we use for most sink clogs that we're going to go through cleanouts or through roof vents. Now, a lot of people won't even go on roofs. A lot of companies these days won't go on roofs, but it is considered an access point to go on the roof and go through a vent. You have cleanouts on the walls, you have cleanouts in the ground. Sometimes you have to remove a toilet to access the line. That's a last resort because now you've got an open sewer line in a bathroom that could overflow. We try and go in through access points of cleanouts. How do we do it? Well, first of all, we need to know that we're using the right tip on our machine. Now, there's lots of different tips. We've talked about it in some short videos that there's a general usage tip. And this is called a gimlet boring head or a boring gimlet. We have a retriever head. We have a small scraper. We have a spearhead. And then we have what we call the cutter blades. Now, I really don't like the name of these as being cutter blades for this reason. This machine, you can put these on just like this. You can use two so that they look like that on it. Or you can just use one so that you've got a one-sided blade like that. But why do I not like them called cutters? Because a 3/8 cable generally will not cut things. When we think of cutting things, we think about cutting roots out, don't we? This cable is not made for cutting roots. Now, you may pull some roots back on a spring, you may pull some roots back on your cable, but you don't want to take this machine and run it into a 3 or 4-inch line and try and cut roots out with this. All you're going to do is end up damaging your cable, breaking the head off the end of this, doing something like that. If we pull roots out with this machine, it's time to get a bigger machine or go fix the problem. So, what head should we generally use and start with? The boring gimlet. Kind of looks like a little light bulb. Don't get it confused with the retriever head. The retriever head I always say looks kind of like a tornado. That looks a little like a light bulb. This is our utility head. When I say that, I mean in general, I would always start with this head. Now, one thing for sure, always make sure that this screw is tight. Crank it down good and tight and make sure you have the lock washer on it also. Every time you use the sewer machine, check this before you put it in the sewer line. You don't want to lose this head down in there because now you're trying to retrieve a head. You're going to have to go back in there with this one and find out if you can get that out, because that's definitely going to stop up a sewer line or a drain line if you lose that down in the system. So make sure it's good and tight on there every single time. Now I will say this, I have had the heads break off right here on the end of the cable. Now the cool thing about most of these cables, rigid, general, all of them, and most of the cables will interchange with the different sewer machines. You can actually weld a new head on the end of these. So if it breaks off, get that head out, keep some spare ones in stock, and you can weld a new end on these cables if it breaks off close to the end. Make sure it's tight and start with your boring gimlet. Why do I say start with the boring gimlet? You notice it's tapered towards the end. This head will go around corners easily. It will pick up hair if there's hair in the line. It will pick up wipes if there's wipes in the line, or paper, or a sock if somebody happened to flush a cloth or a sock down the line. It will also grab into roots and pull some roots out. If it goes outside the pipe, this little head right here is just like taking a core sample of the mud. It will fill up with whatever mud is outside the pipe. So if it goes outside the pipe because the pipe's rotted out or broken or separated, and you pull back a head of this that's packed full of mud, you immediately know as a drain person, I've gone outside the pipe, we have a problem here. We figure out where that spot is, and we go in and repair it. It's such a good head for everything, the boring gimlet. Remember that. That's what you should always start with. If you tear it up, get you another one. I have guys all the time tell me, oh, well, I broke my boring gimlet, so I started using the other head. And I said, well, how long ago was that? And they'll be like, oh, 6 months ago. Go get another head for your sewer machine, because in the long run, it's going to do a better job. It also will clean the line out well. It'll make the turns well. And something that's very, very good about it is this. Oftentimes, if you're clearing cast iron lines, you may get into a pipe that's got what we call channel rot, as you'll see in the picture. The channel rot means that the bottom of the pipe is gone. Well, sometimes that's a tiny little crack or groove in the bottom of the pipe. Well, if you're using a head like this or a head like this, and that falls down in that groove, well, you pull back on it and it's stuck in that groove. You're not going to get that out of that pipe. You're going to have to dig in, get it, break into the concrete, tunnel under the house somehow to get that. The cool thing about this one is the head is about the same size as the actual connector of the cable. This spring is just slightly larger. If it goes down in that crack, you can usually pull this out by stretching the spring out. I have literally stretched one of these springs out this far, but I got my cable out of the sewer line. That is one of the good things. You need to have an exit plan, right? It's a plan B so that you can escape from that sewer line if you happen to get trapped in it. If you're using the gimlet boring head, it will allow you to do that. These other heads like this, they are not forgiving. They are solid steel, they're big heads. They will not come back out of that pipe if it's got channel rot and has a groove in it. So be extremely careful. Use the gimlet boring head as your primary head to start with, and you'll have much less problems. Use your specialty heads after you find out what's going on. You pull this cable out and it's coated in grease or white grease or black grease, then it's time to go use your scrapers and scrape all of that grease off the inside of the pipes and wash it down. And I say wash it down, so what am I meaning by that? When you're running this cable through the line, if at all possible, have the water running, preferably the hot water. Now, there's a big debate about that, and always has been, about do I use hot water or cold water? Cold water coagulates the grease. Hot water melts the grease. I'm a big believer in using hot water anytime you're running a cable down the line. It'll loosen up the grease, soften it up, and hopefully get it on further down the line. Now, is it going to solidify and stick somewhere else down the line? Yes, but hopefully that's way past your sewer line and out in the city's line by that time. Make sure you're running lots of hot water while you're running a kitchen machine or a sink machine or shower or washing machine. Try be running water. Now, on washing machines, it's more difficult. You can only run the water after you've run it. But this is why we want to go through cleanouts, vents, things of that nature. If you have to disassemble a kitchen sink and take the P-traps off and everything, you can't run water while you're unclogging it. Now, sometimes that's the only option you have. But if you have to disassemble it, You have to put it all back together and then try the water and then do it again. If you're running the water while you're running this cable, it's constantly spinning, knocking all of the debris off on the inside of the pipe, washing it away, getting it to all go down the line. So start with the gimlet head, make sure we have water running, and now when we're running the machine, always have a good pair of leather gloves. Do not use cotton gloves. They do make some, I call them goofy gloves. A lot of the sewer machine companies, as you can see in this picture, they kind of like got rubber glued all to them. They have little rubber nubbies, and they work really well. Just most people don't buy them. It's easy to go buy a good pair of leather gloves. Always use leather gloves to run a sewer machine. Now, you should probably use some rubber gloves on the inside of that. We are dealing with biohazards here. So make sure and put rubber gloves on first, then put your leather gloves on. One other piece of equipment you should always have is a face shield. Why? You don't want what comes out of someone's sewer line in your mouth, in your nose, in your ears, in your teeth, in your face, in your eyes. All of those places you can get an infection. And there are a lot of things that go down the water in a sewer line that can give you bad infections, biohazards, potential pathogens that can cause problems, right? So always face shield, not just safety glasses. Because again, it could splash in your ear, it could splash in your mouth, your nose. Face shield. Put it on. Have it ready to go. When you get ready to do your drain cleaning, flip it down and you're ready to go. So we've got our rubber gloves, we've got our face shield, we've got our leather gloves, and on top of that, it is a hazardous job. You're dealing with raw sewage. So you have to be careful. This is a serious job. Most people think, oh, he's just a drain cleaner, he's clearing drains. No, drain cleaning is a very serious job. You're dealing with biohazards. So make sure you use your PPE. Make sure you've got personal protection equipment. It's not even a bad idea to put you on a pair of disposable coveralls. That way it keeps all of that off of your clothes and everything else. No reason to carry home those germs to your family. Otherwise, you need to make sure and strip off those clothes when you get in the garage at the house, right? So it's a good idea to put that on. It's almost like you're dealing with a hazmat situation. And you are. Put on that PPE equipment, put on your gloves, put on your face shield. Make sure you're taking all the precautions you should. All right, well, when we get there, we know what head to use now. We found out where we're gonna go in at. We need to know where are our usual points. Well, as I said, roof vents. You can access drains through roof vents. How do you know what roof vent to go down? Well, you find the location, plus you always can know that 1.5 inch and smaller roof vents are going to be your sinks, lavatories, and showers. 2-inch roof vents and larger are generally going to be your toilets. So that's kind of how you know where you're at. And if it's an extremely steep roof, you may need to use something to stay on it, or you may not be able to get on it. If you can't get on the roof and that's the only access point you have, maybe you can go in the attic. Sometimes you can cut a pipe into an attic if it's a real tall attic. If it's a steep roof, most likely you've got a lot of room in the attic. Maybe you can cut a pipe into in the attic, the vent pipe, and run the cable down through there. Lots of different options. And sometimes there's no other way but cutting sheetrock out of the wall, cut the pipe in two, and run in through there. There just may be no other access. But those are 3 different ways that you may can do it. Now, also, what about just regular old cleanouts? Most kitchen lines have cleanouts on them. Most of the newer houses have cleanouts on the kitchen lines, have they cleanouts on the washing machine drains. Oftentimes the washing machine drains are inside the house where the cleanout is, either behind the washing machine or above the washing machine, as long as hopefully the sheetrocker didn't cover it up. Should be a cover there, should be a plug that screws out, something of that nature in the washing room. If you don't have a clean out, you got to figure out another way to do it. And as we said, last resort, remove the P-trap. Just like if we're having to unstop a whole house bathroom, having to remove the toilet is a last resort. Showers. Normally we're going to use a smaller machine on a shower to start with, but this machine right here will go down a shower drain if it's with PVC. It will go down through an 1.5 or a 2-inch shower drain that is PVC. It will not go through an 1.5 or 2-inch brass drain very easily. It would take a really experienced sewer technician to do that, and it's also hard on the cable, and it's very difficult to get the drain cleared that way. So this machine is generally not for bathtubs. It's showers, lavatories, sinks, kitchen sinks, mainly through cleanouts and vents and through the shower drain. that's in a nutshell the things mainly about how we're going to use this and how we're going to do it. Now, when you actually start getting ready to do it, as I said, put your rubber gloves on, and this machine happens to not be self-feed. A lot of the larger machines are self-feed. Some of these small ones are self-feed. This one is a manual machine, so you pull it out. I recommend pulling about 2 feet of cable out so you can bend it and stick it in your clean out. You do want to try and keep the end of this machine to the clean out somewhere between 12 and 24 inches. 18 is better, but the closer you can have the machine to your clean out, the more strength your cable's going to have, the less likely you're going to wrap up a cable on you. These cables will twist up in a heartbeat and slap you upside the head. They will break fingers. They will cut you. Sewer machines can be very dangerous machines. You have to be very careful. You always keep a hand on the cable. Your hand on the cable is your communication with this machine. One way of it. Anytime you're running this machine, one hand always stays on the cable. What's that going to tell us? Well, you can feel when the cable is binding up. That's one thing. So you've kind of got a link to what's going on down in there. You kind of have to visualize what's happening in your drain. Second of all, listen to your machine. The motor, how's it running? Is it running easy without being under stress? If you start hearing the motor bog down or something stress out here, then you need to be thinking about what's going on down on the other end of this cable. If that's happening, then there's probably something binding up this cable on the other end. You don't want to get this thing in such a bind that it wraps up. It'll wrap up inside the drum. It'll wrap up out here. It'll wrap around your fingers. It will slap you in the face, as I mentioned a minute ago. So try not to get the machine too far back. If you do have it too far back, you can put a spacer of a piece of pipe on here. That way it doesn't get out of control. Hold on to the pipe, get it close in. Some of the companies they almost look like an elephant snout that slide over this, that are shields that go on the cables. They're a big, heavy circular spring that fits over it. Those are always good to have. Really good protection for you and make it safe. Always make sure you're keeping control of your cable and you're keeping aware. All right, we know the placement of our machine. We know the best heads to use now. Let's talk about running the machine. Most machines have foot pedals. So you have a foot pedal and you have a plug to plug in. Almost all of our sewer machines nowadays have what we call a GFCI protection on them. That means this plugs in. If anything happens from here to this machine, it will prevent it from electrocuting you. Make sure that all of this is in good shape. Your cords, make sure they're not frayed. Make sure you don't have a broken cord. Always make sure that your ground is on the end of your plug. Don't ever use one that's broken off. Immediately take it back, get it replaced, get it repaired. You don't want to be using that. You don't want to cause yourself to get electrocuted or someone else. So the light should come on. If the light doesn't come on, it means your GFCI is not working. If it trips, it means something's not right. It's shorting out. You could have a short in your control box. You could have a cut cord, anything. Get your machine serviced. Keep your machines in good working order. Also, your foot pedal. These foot pedals are better now than they used to be. Don't put all your weight on this foot pedal. Just put your toe on it and put enough on it to make it work, all right? You don't want to get all your weight on this pedal. It is a pneumatic pedal. It's a big balloon you're stepping on. That activates an air switch inside here. The harder you push on it, see, I can just barely put pressure on it. It'll hold it. Just put your toe on it to make it work. You don't want to put your whole weight on it. That's a little tricky when you're on the roof. So you got to be really careful. Don't put all your weight on this or you're going to shorten the life of your foot pedal. These will eventually start leaking, and then as you hold it down, it will bleed down the air, and then your machine won't stay on. Very frustrating. So take care of your equipment. If you have any fray, this one's even kind of worn. Looks like this might have been rubbing on the truck. I don't think y'all can see it, but if you've got any damage to any of it, get it repaired, because if you go out to a customer's home and you're trying to get their drains unstopped and suddenly your equipment breaks down, well, they're not going to be happy, are they? Because now you can't get them taken care of. You're going to either have to come back tomorrow or leave the job and go get some more equipment or not be able to take care of them at all. And that's not a good situation to be in. So if you take care of your equipment, it will take care of you. Make sure it stays maintained. Make sure it stays clean. Also, as you can see on this one, I've got the shield off of it right now. Normally it has a shield on here. This has a belt on it. You need to make sure that this pulley on the belt is always tight, that the belt's always on. Oftentimes in travel, these belts can pop off This machine is made to where this is on a spring. It pushes up and down, and that's your tensioner on your belt. If your belt comes off, you can push this down, get the belt back on, and let the spring back up. You also need to periodically lubricate this spring and shaft back in here. Take some WD-40, some of your snake oil, which we hadn't talked about yet, and put in that back there. Snake oil. Snake oil is made by General Cable. A lot of different companies make different oils. Well, we're not talking about something that they used to sell back in the 1800s to cure all your ailments. What this does is it takes care of your sewer machine. You can use this on that spring back there, just a few drops. This is made to squirt inside your drum and keep your cable lubricated. Keeps it from rusting, and it's got a deodorizer in it because this cable's in a lot of places that don't smell so good. So it may smell up your truck if you don't take care of it. And you don't want to overuse this oil. Squirt it in there. Make sure you've got some on all the cable each time you do it. You don't want to get too much where you've got a lake of oil in there. But what that does is it continues to lubricate your cable. Also, it makes the cable feed in and out of your machine much better. You can put a drop or two right here where the cone is that comes out, the guide that actually feeds the cable out. All of these different places you can lubricate it, and the snake oil will work for all of those things. Again, the spring back here. We make sure we take care of our cable. We make sure we don't have kinks in it. Ultimately, you're going to kink up a cable. There's no way any drain guy is going to continue to do sewer work all the time and never kink a cable. If you do, you're not doing much work. But you need to be very careful not to overstress the cables or put too much stress or force on it as much as you can so you don't kink the cable. All right? If your cable gets wrapped up inside the drum, you need to fix that in the field. It's not just, oh, my cable got wrapped up, I need to go get a new machine. No, as a drain tech, sometimes you need to be a mechanic for your machine too. You need to pull that cable out. You may have to take some screws out. You may have to do something else. Get that cable straightened out. Sometimes you can even take 2 pipe wrenches and bend it straighten up if you got a bad kink in it. Fix your machine. Take care of your customer. Get them taken care of today. Take care of your machine and you'll get them taken care of today. Use the snake oil. Make sure you use the right head. Keep it lubricated, and you won't have any problems. Now, a couple of last things. On all machines, they have a forward and reverse on their motor. Now, we're talking about the motor. Now, on a self-feed machine, you're going to have a forward and reverse right here, if you'll notice in the pictures. If they have a self-feed here, that's a forward and reverse. I'm not talking about that. That makes the cable go forward and backwards. It does not change the rotation of the cable. If you'll notice on this machine, when it turns clockwise, okay? This cable is always turning clockwise to screw into something. It's slanted. This cable is made so that it tightens up when it turns clockwise. If you turn it counterclockwise, the spring starts to uncoil. What happens when you uncoil a spring? The spring breaks. When it's tightening itself down, it's always pushing against itself, and that's when it's its strongest. Why do we have a forward and reverse on the motor? We have a forward and reverse on the motor because it changes the rotation of the cable. Clockwise for clearing the line. Counterclockwise, reverse. Forward is clockwise, reverse is counterclockwise. That is only for unjamming your cable. Let's say you twisted up a cable in a line, or you hooked this into a bunch of roots and it can't come out. If you'll back it up, it'll kind of corkscrew its way back out. And you'll be able to get your cable out. Don't keep running forward and running and running and running. Stop, just bump it on like that, put it in reverse, and you see we're going the other way. Don't run it full in reverse, just bump it and keep pulling on the cable until you can get the cable to come free. Once it gets free of whatever it was hooked in, turn it back to forward and start going the other direction again. Always make sure you only run the machine for clearing a drain in the forward motor position. The forward and reverse here doesn't matter. It doesn't change the rotation. Remember that. Okay? Lots of little things to know about a machine, right? But if you know everything about your equipment, you're going to be a lot better off, aren't you? You're going to know when something's going wrong with it. You're going to know when you're getting something done right. You're going to know when you're taking care of a customer. And you're going to be able to take care of those customers all the time. And that's what our goal is. I don't know if you can tell or not, but I love talking about drain machines. I've done a lot of drain cleaning in my career, and I believe in it. I believe in finding what the problems are in people's drains and helping people to take care of those problems. You can be a drain cleaning company or you can be a drain repair company, but regardless, you're going to be using drain machines. Take care of your equipment and it'll take care of you. Hope you've learned a lot from this video. I look forward to seeing your comments. I know there's a lot of guys out there that have been doing this a lot all their careers. Tell me what you've done on drain cleaning. Give me your tips. I'm always looking to learn. Thanks for watching, and don't forget, tell your friends, the Butler did it.